Okay, we are unmuted.
I'll call to order the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting for August 5th. And it is, I have 6:32. Shall we do a roll call? Would you like to go first, Mr. Goffin?
Steve Doffin.
Kyle McVeigh.
Allie Welch, Secretary.
And Adriana Arrington Kalk, Chair. Let's do any citizens' comments. Did you? No. And so for number 4, approval of the minutes from July the 4th. Is there a motion to approve it?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And now we'll do 5A, which is a presentation by Ms. Soto for the Parkland dedication ordinance. Thank you for coming.
Yes, of course. Sorry it took me so long. My lord, the scheduling, some things get crazy. So, all right. Should be pulling up here in just a second. Okay. And then. Okay, so I'm Brianna Soto. I'm the Community Development Director. I've been working with Jim and Adriana, Jim Welch on my Planning and Zoning Commission, and then Adriana to help look at the parkland dedication ordinance and see how I can mend the expectations the Parks Board had with the expectations the Planning and Zoning Board had. And so tonight I'm going to kind of go through this. I'm going to give you all a recommendation, but of course, I would love to get any feedback that y'all have, and then I'm going to take that back to Planning and Zoning. Actually, next week I put it on the agenda just to go ahead and work through some of these things to hopefully see some changes to our parkland dedication ordinance in the future. So tonight's objectives is just to review the parkland dedication calculation methods, to review FILO calculation methods, discuss the hybrid model, and provide policy direction. So I tried to keep it as simple as possible, even though I know when I sent out all that paperwork, it seemed very complicated. Trust me, when I read through it about the first 14,000 times, I was also confused. So it takes a little bit, so I'm hoping that I put it together in such a way that it's easy to understand. So why are we updating the ordinance? So the current ordinance is based on appraised value, which can be low. Like, so right now you may be able to go find a few acres of land for, let's just say $15,000 an acre. You're not going to get much back in that FILO fee. Same thing with the 5% of the gross acreage value. You might get something that you're not looking for. It may be too small, it may be too big, just depending on the size of the development. So we're going to look at some other methods that actually tailor to what you want. The growth is occurring faster than park planning. I think y'all can all attest to this. There's a lot of growth going on with a lot of parks. So if we're able to capture this in the ordinance the way the Parks and Rec Board want to see it, then it's not going to be such a struggle in the future when those new parks are coming on in the new subdivisions. The fee calculations no longer reflect today's needs. Like I said, I think that going off the appraised value is pretty low. I think the one that we got from Country Village was around like 5,600 or something. That's pretty low to as a parkland dedication. Most communities require a lot more because those residents are going to be using the parks that y'all maintain and have here in y'all city. And then parkland dedication doesn't always result in usable parks. I think we saw a good example of that over in Westtime Village, where it was parkland dedication that was required, but now it is just a couple of lots of land that really, it's not a park, it's just open space. So we're hoping that by implementing some better regulations that we'll get actual usable parks and not just grass. So our goal, develop an ordinance that's fair, predictable, easy to administer, and support the future needs of our community. So, okay, so how parkland dedication works. So new residential development will come to my department. From there, we look at it and we calculate the park requirement based off of that. Like I said, your current ordinance is 5% of the gross acreage. What I'm going to be recommending is it be per dwelling unit. I think, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but that's, I just put it there just to kind of throw that out there. And then you evaluate the development. So you see what the land dedication is. Then you see what the fee in lieu of could be in case you need cash instead of land. And then there's also a hybrid method, which allows for both, which I think is what we're going to be looking at today. Ultimately, this is a council decision. It's a part of the plating requirements. So we put the regulations on the book, but at the end of the day, planning and zoning have recommendation, but city council is the final approving authority on those plats. So they get to say yes or no, regardless of what we put into our ordinances. And then every development contributes to future parks. So we want to make sure that even if it's a small development, that we are still getting something because they are still bringing residents to this city and they're still using our park. So even if it's a small little FILO fee, we want to make sure that we're gaining that. All right. So different ways to calculate parkland. So the first, which is our current, is the percentage of the property. Like I said, right now we do a 5% gross acreage. So for example, if it was a 200-acre subdivision, they would be required to dedicate 10 acres of parkland. The pros of that, it's really easy to understand. It's straightforward, easy calculation. The second thing is acres per population. So for example, for 10 acres per 1,000 residents. So you look at how many lots are going to be there. There is a multiplying factor that most places use, which is 2.6 persons per home. And then you use that population demand as the way to move forward. And there's a lot of pros to that. It's based on demand. It's linked to level of service. It's probably one of the most equitable. So that's another way to move forward. The third one is acres per dwelling unit. So that means 1 acre per 100 units. This is the one I'm recommending because it's probably the most straightforward. And it's also the most defendable if for some reason a developer said that we were being too stringent or overbearing with our parkland, this is the easiest to defend in court. And so if it was 1 acre per 100 units, which is what I'm recommending, that's 215 homes, which equals 2.5 acres of parkland dedication. And then square feet per dwelling, the example would be like 500 square feet per unit. This is less familiar, it's out there, but it's pretty complicated because then you have to measure the square footage of each home that's going to be going there. We don't always know that. We can't predict what's going there. They probably say, it's between 2,400 and 2,600, but we can never be for certain. So, okay. And then different ways to calculate FILO. So this is, in case I keep using the terminology FILO, but what it stands for is fee in lieu of. And so this is a fee that they would pay in lieu of parkland dedication. Option 1 is the current ordinance, which is 5% of the appraised value. The pros, it's easy to administrator. It's a very straightforward calculation, and it even states in our ordinance that it's based off the Medina County Appraisal District value, which typically is pretty low compared to what that property would be selling for, and definitely very low to what that property would be if it had been developed. So you would get a really low value, which means you get a really low fee to your city. Option 2 is market value of land. So based off the appraised value of market land, appraised value of parkland. So reflects the land. The pros on this is it reflects current land market. The cons about this is it changes every year and it can be a little bit more complex because you have to make sure that market value somebody has to find out what that is. So is the city going to be the one to do that? Is the developer going to be the one that does that? But of course, they're going to go find the appraiser that favors them the most. So unless the city wants to pay for that out of pocket, it can get a little sticky. So,
And that's what we were kind of picking earlier this year when we first made our recommendation.
Mhm.
This is for the blue one.
exactly. And so then option 3, which is going to be the recommended option, is per dwelling unit. So just $500 per dwelling unit. The pros, it's predictable, it's fair and consistent, and it's easy to budget. The $500, I took about 12 cities, and I think that they were listed in the paperwork that I gave y'all, and I tried to figure out what their fees were, and I just met in the middle because, Austin, they charge $3,500 per dwelling unit, which is wild. That's a lot of money. I don't think we're going to get that kind of money out here. And then you look at somebody like Seguin that charges 400, and I felt like that was per dwelling unit, which I feel is like more in line of where we're at. But of course, this is always up for discussion because it's just a number that I created. I didn't do any like scientific method to come to this. So if we thought that $500 was too low, we can always work with that. Or if we thought $500 was too high, we can always change that. So that is definitely, there's some flexibility there, but I just put that in there for right now and to kind of just see where it lands.
How often would you revisit that number?
That can be revisited. If you wanted to, you could put this in the fee schedule and it could be revisited every single year that budget comes around.
I don't know if it's every single year, but it seems like at least every 5 years
5
it should
years.
be revisited
No, I agree
and
with
adjusted
you.
if
Yeah, so because definitely as a market, because this is supposed to go towards accumulating more parkland dedication, and we'll get into this a little bit more later, or the maintenance of your existing parks or more structures. All of those things are just going to increase with price as time goes on. So yes, you could definitely reevaluate in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, whenever you see fit.
And
So.
it's probably good to phase it in anyway, not be like, here's $3,000, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, phase it in, see kind of where it lands you maybe with the next few developments. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of what we see are really large developments, so this would still bring in a pretty good chunk of money. So, all right. And so how does the hybrid model work? So we're going to do an example with 250 homes. So with that, if we used the acres per dwelling unit, the requirement would be 2.5 acres. So let's just all say at this time, the parkland dedication is 2.5 acres. So the 250 homes divided by the 100 is 2.5 acres. Well, the developer indicates that 2.0 acres is usable land. So that's what they want to dedicate to the city. And with that dedication comes requirements, like there must be some kind of amenity on there. There must be things that they have to do on that piece of 2.0 acres. But they're asking, and it's always going to be an ask because it's at the discretion of planning and zoning and city council whether they're going to approve. And the remaining acreage would be 0.5 acres, which would be converted into the FILO payment. So so I know it's a lot to take in. So what they would be required is 2 acres would be dedicated like I said, this is all a request because it's not, this would be, if they had 0 acres of usable land and the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council thought, actually, we do not like that land. We don't want that. We don't like the location of it. And we're going to get into an evaluation criteria in just a minute. We actually want all of it to be in FILO fees. Like we want one thing to do with the parkland in that area, or vice versa. They're like, actually, we don't want any FILO fees. We love the area that's in. It creates a connective trail. We want the full 2.5. So the hybrid method does provide flexibility. So it works to the benefit of the city.
would at any point that come back to us to provide a recommendation per the Parks Board or?
And not, so what we decided when we brought it to planning and zoning and after having conversations with Adriana and Jim, that we think that because putting another step in there can be burdensome, and it can be considered burdensome by legal or by developers. So we would make sure that in the ordinance, it states that it goes to the parks director to make sure it's in compliance with either the master plan or the vision for the Parks and Rec Board, which I'll have adopted at that moment. So what I was talking about with Adriana is if this is something, if you want to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck, just make sure that y'all's master plan is up to date as to what you want to see in the future, so we can always refer back to that. So,
Can I ask one more question about this?
yeah.
You said amenities, like just for example, what would an amenity be?
Yeah, so that's something we still have to figure out, but usually it consists of a playground, a
Okay.
dog park, those kind of things. But those things are still being discussed. We would love to refer back to the Parks Master Plan to determine what those amenities should be. But I don't know if it's clearly stated right now what those are.
Okay,
So.
because I think that's kind of where West Time fell apart. There was
Yeah.
no requirement to actually.
Yeah, and there's right now in our current subdivision ordinance, it doesn't refer back to any master planning tool. So if we create this where it does refer back to y'all's Parks Master Plan, if it's an updated tool and it's one that y'all are very comfortable with, that would be the best idea, because moving forward, as you update that, then you don't have to go back and update the ordinance. The plan is always updated.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go through a couple of examples just to give a better idea, to hopefully make y'all more comfortable. So the assumption that we're using here is that there's going to be 4 homes per acre, and the only reason why I did that is because a lot of the PUDs that we're seeing right now are approximately 8,000 square foot lots. And then, of course, the minimum requirement for your regular subdivision in Old Castroville would be 12,000 square foot. So I just decided to come to the middle there just to give the best idea, right what in the middle where that lands. So if it was 4 homes per acre, then, and if this is a 20-acre development, I'm sorry, then it would be 80 homes. So per dwelling requirement, so 1 acre per 100 homes equals 0.8 acres. So that's pretty small. Like if you think about it, that's it's not a big parcel of park at all. But because it falls below that, or falls above that, and we'll get into the minimum of the 5-acre range, which is another thing that we can always talk about. Because if you think about it, a 0.8 acre park is not super huge, but maybe it's perfect for a little small development like 20 acres. So that's where there's a little bit of flexibility. Okay, so the requirement is 0.8 acres. Well, they want to do neighborhood park, but they only need half an acre to do that. So they're like, we still have 0.3 acres. Well, then we can translate that into a FILO fee. So not only are you getting the small park that fits the space, that fits the neighborhood, but you're also getting a little funds for maintenance of that park or for buying another structure for another park, even though the funds would still be a little bit minimal because it's not a big park to begin with, but you're getting the best of both worlds if you don't need to have a 0.8 acre park. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's see. And so now we're going to get into like a much bigger. So this is a 250 acre development. This is still not even close to what Alsatian Oaks or Flat Creek is. So yeah, but this is just to give a better idea of like a larger scale development. So the same thing, 4 homes per acre, which is the 10,000 square foot lots. So that would be 1,000 homes. Then with the 1 acre per 100 homes requirement, then you're looking at 10 acres that is required to be dedicated as parkland by this project. Well, so let's just say the developer's like, hey, well, we want to dedicate 8 acres of parkland, and that's going to include parks and it's going to include trails, and those trails and those parks are going to connect together. But the other 2 acres, we don't know what to do with. We really don't have any utilization for. It's just going to be there, but we know what we can do with these 8 acres. So then they can say, but we want to pay those 2 acres in FILO fees. So that means you're getting a pretty nice park system, and it's going to be in compliance with all the criteria that we're going to be looking at in just a few slides. But also you're getting, like I said, a little bucket of money to either contribute back to that park system or to put towards other parks that you already have for their maintenance or for new structures, or for even put it where you're holding on to it because you already know that there's a piece of property you want to buy in the future to put a different park. So like I said, it kind of gives you the best of both worlds. You're still getting what you need for that development, but you're also still getting some money to use towards, I mean, you know, they always say that they don't want the they want new to pay for old. You know, you don't want to do it the other way, where the core citizens that have been here a long time, they don't want to pay for new development. Well, in this example, new development is still paying for new. We're not contributing anything to their parklands or at this point, but they're also getting a little bit of money for what they already have. So. All right, so why use the hybrid model? So 100% land, so city receives the land. And then we're gonna get into a little stipulation about HOA in a minute. But at this point, we're just talking about city receives the land. It may not be usable, hard to maintain, limits city flexibility. 100% FILO and there's no neighborhood parks, may not meet immediate community needs, less visible benefit in development. But the hybrid model kind of provides neighborhoods where provides parks within neighborhoods where it's needed, can fund trails, community parks, and improvements, is flexible and is fair. We can uphold these measures. That's why people are moving to this in the future in other cities, and best serves the community. And so the hybrid model gives Castroville the both the best worlds: good parks and some more money to do what they need in the future. Okay, so this is the decision maker. I'm sorry, there's a lot of words on here. Yeah. So when a development is more than 5 acres, the default is 100% land dedication. That's what we're all looking at it right now. We don't want them to come in thinking that Philo is the option. We want them to try and incorporate those parks and that dedication into the plans that they're providing. But a little bit of flexibility always can benefit in some ways. But in order to allow for God, sorry, I'm tripping up on my words. To say, okay, we're going to allow you to dedicate less parkland than what's required, but they have to meet this evaluation criteria. It's not going to just be, we're trying to keep it from being as subjective as possible. So first, does it align with the park's master plan? So if the site is identified as a future park, athletic complex, or a trail connection, and is in the adopted city plans, then that's when we accept that land. That's when we want that land, because we've already identified that as an important park for us. So we would acquire cash or hybrid if the site is isolated, doesn't connect to any current or planned public park network, there's not located next to any trails. Maybe if it's not open to the public, like why do we want to take on a park if it's not open to the public, So these things, so usability and topography, that's a second evaluation criteria. So at least 65% of the offered land is high, dry, flat, and buildable for active recreation. We don't need a whole bunch of land that we can't use. If we're going to have dedicated land, we want to make sure in the future, regardless if that's for actual playgrounds or if that's for trails, whatever we see that fit in the future, we want to make sure that we have a use for it in the future. So if it can't meet that, then we would possibly look at requiring cash or going to the hybrid method. Access and visibility. So if the land has direct street frontage on a public road and is easily accessible to all residents, that's great that's where you want your parks to be. You want it to be right there in the middle. I mean, I know our city of Castroville Regional Park is out in a corner and it gets utilized a lot. But a lot of times these other parks, it acts as a connecting point between neighborhoods and between trails. So, you always kind of want it in a really good location. And so if it meets that requirement, or if it doesn't meet that requirement, then maybe you'd be looking at a cash or hybrid option. And then functional size. And you don't want a park that's just way too big that we can't handle as a city, that we can't maintain as a city, or way too small. So if the size is right, then we would accept that land. But if it's just not functional, or if it doesn't work within what we can do or what we can use for this city, then maybe the cash or hybrid option is a method. It's a method to go through. And this is where we get to the 5 acre threshold and hybrid decision. So I know everybody's like, well, if we have a subdivision, we want there to be a park there. But if it's a really small subdivision, trust me, if it's going to be a really tiny park, that's just going to create a lot of maintenance for your staff, especially if it's only big enough for, I don't know, a sitting bench. They still have to send people over there to mow it. They still have to make sure it's secure. They still have to put lighting in it. They still have to do all of these other requirements for a 0.1 acre park, So if it's under 5 acres, then right now, even in the existing, I believe in the existing ordinance,
It's 5.
it's 5, I think, yeah. Then they pay the fee in lieu of. I think that's still a good process to go with in the future. It's under 5
I don't even
acres.
know if we should raise this minimum.
Yeah, that was another
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
I saw 8, I think, somewhere that maybe you sent or maybe I sent, but
I didn't know if I didn't do the math really to see what size that would make or.
so that means that for, let's see, 5 acres is approximately 10 homes. So 10 homes divided by the one, it's a 1 acre per 100 room. You're looking at 0.01 acres for a park. That would be the translation to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might need to raise it.
Yeah, so maybe we should raise it to where, I don't know what it would be, I guess for 5 acres, 10 homes, 25 acres, which it would come out to like half an acre park, something like that, or is it 15? Sorry, I'm spitballing here. So maybe we need to look at raising that, because y'all need to decide what's the minimum parkland that y'all really want a subdivision to be dedicating. And then once you determine what that is, then we can raise that, the threshold. All right, so the special provision, so private / HOA parks with public access. So we're thinking that that in the future, we do not have this right now, but if a developer constructs a privately maintained HOA park or amenity center, the city council can or may grant partial or full credit towards their land or obligation fee, provided that it is publicly accessible. So we don't want it to be a gated park that nobody can access except for their own residents. The maintenance, so the HOA has 100% maintenance responsibility. So if they're maintaining it, that's what we want. We don't want our staff to have to go out there, have to deal with that. We don't have to be worried about watering it. We don't want to have to be worried about any of those things. And then, of course, there's a legal agreement in place that states that they are going to keep it as a public access easement, so it's going to be available to all, and that there's a maintenance agreement on the final plat recorded that they are going to be doing 100% maintenance of that park. So if they're able to accomplish all these, then maybe give them the parkland dedication credit, so they don't still have to provide a parkland on top of that. So that's just something to think about. And provides fairness to the developers that are trying to create these beautiful parks, and also not be burdensome by the city. So
And it makes sense for the smaller neighborhood parks.
yeah, definitely.
Have them in HOA probably.
That may have worked if that was the case for Westheim. That may have worked because they do have a HOA over in Westheim. So if that had been one of the things, they may have done that and created that into something more than what it is now, since they do have an HOA. We don't know. And then, so current versus proposed ordinance. So the current ordinance is 5% of the gross acres, as you know, FILO calculation, 5% of the appraised value. The options are land or FILO. It should say only FILO under 5 acres right now. Valuation criteria is limited, not standardized. The hybrid approach, not standardized within our current ordinances. Flexibility is really low. It doesn't allow for much flexibility at all. Predictability, actually, I would say predictability is high. So I don't know. Sorry, I got confused. Predictability is very high. Benefit to the city, uncertain in park value, but you still know that you have park that's going to be coming with each subdivision. So the proposed ordinance is, like I said, population-based, which translate over to dwelling units. This is supposed to be 500, not 3,500. Sorry, guys. But like I said, at first, the Austin one was coming up at 3,500 per dwelling unit. I thought, is this really what people charge? Yeah. This is crazy. And then, no, it's not all like that. That's Austin. So it could be land, the fee in lieu of, or hybrid. Objective decision making, that's probably the biggest thing is, and I think I expressed this to Adriana and Jim through my emails, is for some reason when it gets into subjective criteria for the city of Castroville, then somehow the process just gets elongated. But I'm hoping that because we established that design criteria in the couple slides back, that if it meets all of those things, then we can move forward with it, and that city council and planning and zoning also agree with that, But it does get a little bit subjective when you're looking at it. And then it standardizes formulas and processes. The flexibility is high, predictability high, better parks and funding for future needs. So just so y'all know, for parkland dedication, when you do get those payments, the only things it's allowed to do is acquire parkland, develop community parks, trails, greenways, playgrounds, amenities, athletic facilities, lighting, parking, restrooms, buildings, splash pads, and other park structures. What's not allowed is for it to be used for routine maintenance, staff salaries, or general operations. So it can only be used to better the existing parks that you have. It's not for just, like I said, everyday, day-to-day things. And so the process is to moving here on out. So it would be plan, adoption, and criteria. So make sure that we have that all buckled up. That would also include it going through planning and zoning for recommendation onto city council. City council has the final say in this. And then the fee in lieu of calculation, we would also set and publish the fee in the fee schedule, just to make sure that moving forward, everybody knows exactly what would be paid. And then funding and capital improvements, so using those FILO fees for those projects that we just talked about. And then the ongoing benefit is just to deliver safe, accessible parks and amenities throughout the community. So these are some questions, and I know, Adriana, you're like, I just want a recommendation. And so my recommendation is to use the hybrid model as we just spoke about, and we went through those examples. But I just want to make sure that we're on the same page, because I do have to bring this back to planning and zoning, and I don't want there to be any heartache. Y'all are the Parks and Rec Board. Y'all are the ones that, like I said, have to make the decisions on maintaining these parks and developing these parks in the future. So do you support the population formula for 1 acre per 100 dwelling units? And you don't have to answer these. I did do a lot of research to see if that what most communities use, and that is what I think. I don't know. Let's just say 75% of them use that use this formula, or they vary from 75 to like 125. So it's like right in the middle. I didn't want to do anything too high. We're not trying to be on the high end, but I didn't want to do anything too low. So the lowest I found was 75, and I think the highest I found was like 135. So kind of right in the middle. But if you need any additional background information on that, please let me know and I can get that to you. And then just overall, did you understand the hybrid method and how it works? Yeah, okay. And then, so do you support the FILO fee? Right now we have it set at 500. It does say annual CPI updates, but like I said, that doesn't have to be annual. It can be whenever the city feels like it's fit, or you could look at it annually. It's completely up to what y'all want, and also what city council wants, since it's going to be in the fee schedule. So. And then the evaluation criteria, I hope that was appropriate. I did use a lot. Adriana sent me some information about it, and I think it turned out really well. I think it establishes all the things that y'all should be looking for when parkland is going to be dedicated. And then are there any other priorities that maybe I missed or that I didn't consider in my presentation? I would love to hear if there's any other questions that you have. And that's all I have for you guys. So. I know it was a lot. Sorry. I try to keep it as short as
No,
possible.
it was a great
Yeah.
summary. It was a great summary.
And I'll send this to you, this presentation, so y'all have it. Yeah.
You simplified it really very well.
Oh, thank you.
I have a feeling the ordinance is going to be like huge, though, like when all this is translated to the
Yeah.
actual technical language.
I wanted to make sure that before I even tackled the real ordinance language, I wanted to make sure Parks and Rec Board and the Planning and Zoning are all on the same page first, because yeah, you're right. There's probably a lot of language changes. I know we were trying to keep it simplified, but in doing so, we have somehow made it bigger.
Yeah.
So, but I think it will be better for the future.
I think so. Initially, when I first got feedback on doing this, so like just catch the low hanging fruit and let's figure out those things and do a quick update. But I think this is more thoughtful. I hope maybe y'all agree or not.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
So we make a recommendation to the planning and zone, and they're the ones that say yes.
No, so the recommendation will go to the planning and zoning, but it will ultimately be adopted by city council.
So do we need a motion to adopt this, or
I think there's
or
a
it just-
presentation.
or this is
was
just
on
a discussion?
presentation, and then I think that there's another section on your agenda for actual.
Yeah.
So
But
maybe
you
y'all
did-
should move into that, and
Okay.
then I'll answer any questions or if there's
Yeah,
anything
so-
you want to see. Y'all don't have to make a recommendation tonight if you want to get some more answers first, or you want to have time to put some questions together. This doesn't have to happen tonight either. So
So I have
there's no
on
pressure.
6A discussion and take appropriate action on this presentation. But yeah, we can do what we want.
well, I know that you had done some research too, and we're looking at recommendations. Is there anything that you had
Um,
that doesn't go along with what she
No, I
had
think
presented?
we're
I
on
thought
the
this was really
same-
helpful.
On the same page.
Okay.
I think I'm a little nervous about there's the decision matrix, right? When you drop down into this hybrid model and you're giving P&Z and council and I guess even park staff, they're like, well, we can come up with some interesting recipe, and the developer too. Hopefully it doesn't slow it up too much, but I think this model is in other cities, so I'm sure developers have seen it before. It's just trying to educate the council and say like, this is the power you have with this ordinance.
I think the decision matrix, like, so when you look at it, and we'll go back there real quick. If you
And-
look at what the like acceptable land criteria, it's really not overly burdensome. Like this should be a part of their park plan. But like I said, like the identified, if it's identified like in the only thing is if it's identified in trail connection and adopted city plans. So make sure y'all's master plans are up to date as much as possible.
No, it puts more burden on our group and parks.
Yeah, but like I said, the 65%, that's not a lot to ask for. Like to make sure that there's 65% that you could put some kind of amenity or park or those kind of things. Those are things that they should already be providing in a true parkland, you know, whether that be trails, baseball fields, playgrounds, pavilions, all those kind of things.
And I guess that's what we wanted was true parkland. We don't want it to be a fancy sidewalk
No.
or just a trail, or we
True
want to get
park-
parks out of this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so that's what you're getting out of these criteria. It's true parkland and not just grass, like I said earlier, just grass. So
So if with this update and you were getting like a very large parcel of land, maybe it's the size of Lions Park or something, is there going to be language in here that has some sort of fees to help pay for amenities, or are we going to rely on what's in the fund that we are hopefully been saving up? Is that because I've seen some ordinances where they have dedicate the land but also give us a fee on top of that, but
the way that I feel like the ordinance should read, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that they should be putting those amenities in themselves. You don't want to be the people doing that in the future. So the only fees that you should be getting is if you decide to accept those FILO fees, and you can put those towards whatever parks you feel in the future, if that's a splash pad or if that's a playground or baseball fields, whatever you see the need for in the future. But when they are dedicating land to the city or to when they're doing parkland dedication, then it should be already built and amenitized. We should not be having to do that in the future for them.
so then either it'll be an HOA maintained that they're going to take over, or they're just going to give it to they'll give the whole thing to the city.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That sounds nice.
yeah.
I don't want to just give you like, here's some dirt, right? Okay.
It seems simplified, but actually you covered so much that you covered a lot of the loopholes. Because I think that's what the issue we have now, is that they can get out of this because they can provide that. But this pretty much puts it right in line.
Yeah. And I feel like it really does. It provides an opportunity for the city to work with developers, but like like I said, to get the best outcome for them and for us. So it's to get those loopholes out in front. You know what I mean? Like, okay, we know that you don't want to provide us with 20 acres of parkland. Maybe you do want to pay some fees, but how is that going to look? We want to make sure that parkland that you do provide is what we want to see. So, yeah.
My last question was, you had mentioned in a conversation before that if you put it in the ordinance, like certain park, when the amenity criteria and things like that, do you still recommend we do a portion of that in the ordinance to make sure it does fit? Because you say master plans don't always hold up.
Yeah, I did. And I think right now in that ordinance that I did send to y'all, there was some amenity, and I'm sorry I didn't even put it in here, and I should have. There was some amenity criteria. I think it was playgrounds, baseball fields.
How specific do you think that needs to be? Because I've seen it pretty specific in certain parts.
Yeah.
Of cities.
I really don't know the answer to that. I think I'm afraid to say too specific because There is also like a art in the developers when they get creative, like they do provide sometimes it like those big old ponds and things like that. It's really nice to see when they get creative and you get something different than just maybe a play structure or whatever you want to provide some flexibility. So I don't know exactly how to word that. I do think that there needs to be criteria in the ordinance because from I think the conversations we've had that in the master plan it isn't clearly defined yet. And so, but exactly what that is would probably be A, B, C, and D, E, and then F is or allowable by city council or something like that. So it allows that flexibility for city council, but also allows developers to maybe get a little bit creative and see what they can come up with. So
Do you remember offhand how specific our wording is on the master plan for like our desired,
It has categories of parks, but it doesn't say really what to put in them. I don't think.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
thinking more along the lines of like, like baseball fields. If we want a park, do we have,
I think in the master plan it does have in there for development. It
Yeah.
it kind of has a brief description and an amount more or less of what a playground should be, a playground structure should be, how much it should cover, baseball fields, soccer fields. I think it is in there I think it's at the very end of the master plan. I
I'll make
believe
that-
so.
I was thinking of the first.
I'm wondering if that's something we need to, I'll look at it, but I'm wondering if it's something we need to review.
I feel like when I look at the master plan, there's so much has been done, and I feel like it might be ending. Like we talk about amending it, but I'm like, do we just need to kind of look at it completely again because it's already going to be 5 years old, 6 years old, so maybe almost 6.
Yeah, that was a long time ago because I was a part of that process. But man, I vaguely remember it. Seems like a lifetime.
They
So,
grow up so fast.
yeah, I know. So I would highly recommend once plan usually hits the 10-year mark, it's definitely time for it to be revisited. But if you can do it sooner, since y'all are already looking at these things and y'all are invested, it might be the time to do that now. But that's up to you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much. That was really a nice presentation.
No problem, guys. But like I said, let me know if you have any questions. If y'all need some time to mull this over, Johnny, that's okay. Like, don't worry about. We don't need like a recommendation tonight.
Okay.
But
This
if
is very thorough.
yeah,
think
but
so too.
as you, I'll send this PowerPoint to y'all, and as y'all read through it, just please let me know if you have any questions, and then we'll see about maybe getting it on the next meeting. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to make a motion on it, or do you want to study this more thoroughly?
What did you want to add? I mean, there was something totally over.
It was just the acreage. If we want to make, because right now it's less than 5 acres is mandatory, Philo, and we
Yes.
talked about changing that amount.
Now it would be because we're changing the calculation to per dwelling unit.
Mhm.
Then the minimum needs to be raised, I assume, and we could look at the math a bit.
Okay, well then let's just table it until
Okay,
we have.
just to
more
make sure
information
to
that-
get those details.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I think what we do now is really important
Yeah, that's a good point.
for the future.
Okay, and then what I'll also do, just to make sure, is I'll try and button up that language. I'll try and button up that language in the actual ordinance to see how it's going to be written out as much as possible. I am taking this to planning and zoning, like I said, next week. I already had it on the agenda, but also just to get their feedback since we're trying to tackle this from both y'all's side and from their side. And then, like I said, hopefully at the next planning Parks and Rec Board meeting, I'll have the actual ordinance. It looks super boring, not fun. It doesn't have the pictures, but at least y'all can see what it will look like in the future, just compared to the existing ordinance as it is right now. Okay?
you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
You too.
All right, for 6A, we're gonna not take any action this evening and wait for her updates. So that means we can move to 6B, right? If we need a little.
I'm okay. Go ahead.
Okay, for 6B is discussion and take action on grant opportunities for some sort of water recycling or reclamation system for the Lions Park slush pad. We had a flurry of messages earlier in July amongst some of the park board members about could we get a grant because we realized there's an LCRA grant, a community grant, and I think it's 80/20 in particular. But we don't have anything to actually give them, right? We have nothing to spec. We just talked about things in very high level. I think a little bit of research shows a reclamation, something for irrigation where you're capturing the water to irrigate the fields later. I know probably should have planned that, like however old the splash pad is, like it should have been set up for that. But right now, so I'm sure that will take a little extra money to figure out or design work to figure out how to put the system inside in the park as it exists.
For sure.
But what could you make? What do you think for that in particular? And then could we get something spec so that on the next cycle or whenever you're ready for a new project, that we could put that in basically get it scoped and ready to go.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's one of the things that we've kind of talked about a lot before is not a recirculating system, just so that we're not looking to recirculate the water on the splash pad, but we are looking to possibly recycle it and use it for irrigation purposes. I can definitely get with a vendor and look to see what the possibility is on capturing that water. The splash pad, in terms of where it goes, I mean, it shoots straight back towards the north.
Is it just
It goes straight back. Yes, it just goes straight back to a drain. It hits the main sewer line, and then it just flows down into the plant. So it would not be hard to locate that line, figure out a way to put a tank next to it. The only thing that I foresee is, okay, you get all that water into that tank, then you're going to have to pump that tank and pressurize whatever irrigation you're doing. So you already have, irrigation around the splash pad. You've got bubblers at all of the trees, the majority of all the trees. You've got sprinkler heads and irrigation heads at the smaller athletic field between the splash pad and the larger field, and then you have the larger field. So if we look at it, I see two options that we can do. We can either use that water to maybe install new irrigation on the softball field, so then that way it's all pumped over there, or try to do it as a dual system where it goes. We use whatever reclaimed water we capture from the splash pad on that day, we pump it into the regular system that we already have currently, and then if for some reason, like right now, the splash pad's not on, we supplement that water with fresh water. So there's two different options. Obviously, cost is going to be the driving factor on it, but in terms of capturing that water, it's just a matter of putting in a tank, trying to figure out how many gallons we're using for each zone, how many zones we have, and then putting a pump on it to pump that water out there.
How do you do right now? Like you said, you had a system in place now, bubblers and all that. Well, where does that water come from?
Straight from the meter.
Okay, if it comes from the meter, why can't we tie that back instead of doing a tank? Why can't we just tie into that so that you don't have to have all this storage or anything?
The water, you're going to have to store the water one way or the other, because if you have somebody using the splash pad, let's say at 2:00 in the afternoon, you don't want irrigation to go off at the same time. You want to try to water, after hours or at nighttime. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Because
I'm not sure how to explain it. I'm just saying that since you already have a system in place for watering, irrigating right now, why can't we tie into that system without having to put a tank in?
that system's pressurized. If we were to put the water, basically the water from the splash pad is just gravity fed down into the sewer line. So it's not pressurized. So we would need to pressure that water some way, shape, or form. And then we would have to look at that holding tank. Similar to the water at Regional Park. We have to have some type of reservoir to pump that water out and pressurize those lines. So the water at the meter is pressurized. So then you basically just turn the control valve, or the clock will turn the control valve on, and then our irrigation heads go out. But if we were to just capture the water from, let's say, the sewer line on the splash pad, it wouldn't keep the amount of pressure needed to run the irrigation effectively.
Is this something that you even want to maintain is, like, do you think it would be useful to have this system in
I mean,
the park?
as a Parks and Recs director, it's kind of one of those things where I want to be a good steward of the water. I think we need to look at it. I can try to, like I said, let's look at what the cost is going to be, and then go from there. Because again, it's kind of one of those things. A tank is going to be underground. We'll dig out the hole, put the tank in there, capture the water. The only maintenance and operations that I foresee is going to be that pump, and it's going to depend on how big is the pump. We're going to need any type of not container, but like housing around that pump, so that way somebody just doesn't drive up and take that pump. So those are kind of the items that I see. The other thing, I mean, it'll be simple in terms of putting it on the same irrigation clock. Everything else will essentially be wired the same.
Couldn't we get grants for that?
That's what Adrian is thinking. The thing is we need to try to have a plan.
And there's no amount of treating the water that would make it usable again.
Based on
Just within the.
splash pad,
Yes.
like a swimming pool.
Yes.
I mean, I think there is. I just don't know enough
Yeah, I don't know
about
what
it.
the cost is.
Yeah.
I mean, that would, if we could just keep reusing the water.
And we would have to look. We would have to talk to because I know when Scott came and talked about it probably a couple of years ago now. His experience at other municipalities and talking to their city attorneys was they were trying to not have reuse splash pad systems because of the liabilities.
Liability and maintenance.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing as make on the pool. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so. I know you have a question. I visited Uvalde. They opened up a splash pad over there, and in talking to their manager, she was worried about keeping it open based on chemical costs. So there's pumps, there's chemical costs, storage. There's
So
a lot
how do
that
you
kind of
rate
goes
this
into.
in the projects that you have going on now, because I don't want you to be like, hey, all work is stopped because I got to spec it.
No, it's kind of one of those things that I
What
will.
do you think?
Yeah, I will try to get it in terms of if you all give me a date on when you would like to. I didn't look into is it LCRA?
It's every 6 months, I think, is what
Every
we saw.
6 months
have
that
it
they-
like,
So
it was July 31st is why we were trying to, should we apply
Okay.
for this? And then I was like,
Right.
wait, we can apply 6 months from now.
Right.
So if we can just get our ducks in a row if we want to apply.
sure, that gives me a little bit of time.
Well, do you, like, how urgent do you think this is to save the water and all that kind of like?
Well, right now, I mean, it's not very urgent because we've had a lot of rain, but it is not. It's one of those
Back
things.
here in a heartbeat.
We can be back there, tomorrow.
I just like if you're trying to like finish the community center and
Yeah.
That's one
fix
thing.
the
Yeah.
So that's
I don't think it's
something.
within the next 30 days kind of thing, but
That would be my goal is between now and my next Parks Board meeting in September, I would at least have some type of update for you all, and then by the following October meeting, then we could actually decide and look at it and say, okay, this is something that we are going to want to spec. Let's go ahead and try to get some hard numbers on it, and then that way we're prepared for that grant when it comes back around.
and you can disagree with us, but I think the three of us feel comfortable in helping to apply for this. Like,
sure.
this is not a huge monster like the other things that we've applied for. I think.
Yeah. Well, based on looking back at the one that we did for Lions Park, there was a lot that they
What they're
did.
thinking.
Well, I don't think it's anything that we probably couldn't have. I think if we had enough time to sit down and do it, I really think that we probably could have done it.
wasn't
But let's don't put it too far down the line.
No, absolutely.
It's gonna take time for all of it, and if
For sure.
we procrastinate and keep putting it off, then our 6 months will be up again.
Well,
But
that's
like you're
that's why I
saying, if we
say
can have some options by October.
between now and next month, I'll at least have estimates, and then by the October meeting, the board can decide. Let's go ahead and take this on, and let's try to prepare something so that way we can. The other thing too is we're going to need to get council.
Well, it says you would have to supply matching funds for at least 20%
Mhm.
with more than $5,000.
So I would have to talk to Leroy and have him talk to mayor and council and see if that's something that they would like to.
So you gotta. I mean, Parks has a lot of budget allocated to it because of the community center,
Mhm.
parking lot,
Mhm.
the
Oh
playground.
yeah, that's already.
So
coming
we've got
in.
to kind
Yeah.
of like.
Yeah.
It might have to be a year out. out or something. I don't know.
It very well could be, but again, it's kind of
But
one
I
of
like
those
to be-
things.
But I like to be moving in that direction.
It's agreed.
Because time's passing. What are we gonna do?
Because even if we do get approved, like we apply, we get approved, then is it another year till we get funds or
Mhm.
whatever? By
Exactly.
then Jonah will be bored and looking for something to do.
Absolutely.
We just need the splash pad to be working.
I think we have some progress on that.
Yes, we do have a lot of progress on that.
Yay.
Okay.
Pressure. All right. I don't know if you need a motion.
No, I think if we're all good with the 2 months more or less for hard numbers, 1 month I'll give an update at the next month at the next meeting, and then in October we can decide.
So for next month, I think we'd have more visibility on just what projects have been funded, and we can like reshuffle all
Okay.
the priority of the stuff we're maintaining. So this would slot in there very nicely. All right, 6C, discussion and take action on the emergency siren system that we've been toying with for the last year. So as a reminder, a year ago and a bit, Kerrville flooded and it was a terrible flash flood. So we're like, well, our RV park is, in particular, is kind of vulnerable in its spot. And I don't know if it can hear the main siren that the city has. Excuse me. Also, the RV park can flood from 2 different locations. It could flood from the river or the ponds up top if they ever overflow or if they're gone.
If they're gone.
And I was trying to get an update from, I guess it's the water treatment plant staff on like what's going on there. I didn't hear back from them with the ponds, but it's in a tricky spot, and I don't want to be like kick them out or anything, but do we still want a siren particularly in the park? And I'd also, I think I'd copied you on the email, had emailed Commissioner Sitter and said, hey, we need a siren north of town in general because there's nothing there actually. There's a large creek, San Geronimo Creek, feeds into the Medina, and there was a flash flood in June that flooded the park. I mean, the RV park was fine, but it flooded Regional Park, and it was kind of a unique situation where just half the county got rain, and our park flooded,
And the immediate rain wasn't even in our area. I mean,
yeah, it was
Yeah.
all in the northwest.
That was
corner,
shocking
or
to watch.
northeast corner. Yeah, and we could see it in daylight this time, but
Yes,
you
that-
can't always observe it. So there's no sensor on the confluence of those 2 parts of water up there north of us, and so the town is kind of could be vulnerable too if the lake is if all the right conditions come together. So I think Commissioner Sitter said that there is some sort of siren that's
so-
not being used.
So if I'm, and don't quote me on this, but if I remember correctly, we have one siren that's over there by Dr. Jafar and Walmart. There's a siren over there, a county siren. And then I believe there's another siren over here at ESD by Public Works. I think there's one in their parking lot area. There's another siren that Commissioner Sitter mentioned on the end of Athens and Washington. There's a vacant lot over there. It's a city lot. There's a utility pole there that also has a siren. Now, I don't know if that's the siren that Commissioner Sitter's referring to when he says close to the urgent care, but that siren, I believe, is the one that they're referring to that could be moved to potentially the park if we wanted it to. And then it could be used there. Again, it's going to be one of those sirens that'll match everything else, the other 2 that are already in town. So whatever they sound, that one will sound. I don't think it could be specific to, hey, it's just flooding here in the park, but it's just kind of one of those situations.
Do we want something specific just for the park, or I don't even know what that. I guess someone looked at a system that was very custom. Maybe Helen.
Yeah, there was one that that they deployed over there in Kerrville called River Sentry. They're basically autonomous towers. Water feeds into the bottom of them, and once it hits a certain level, it will create a siren and it'll have a light for people to evacuate. Those seem a little bit more probably park friendly, I guess, instead of having a big siren, because again, those sirens, when they go off, they're pretty loud. And if you're not expecting it and you're in the park, you might get a good wake up call, especially with the RV parks. But again, it's kind of one of those things. You also want to wake people up
Yes.
in those instances. So there's two options that we can do. We can definitely do that option about reaching out to the emergency management department, seeing if that is the siren that could be relocated and moved, and or look at those river sentries. When I reached out to River Sentry, they gave me a couple of RV parks that they do have this in as well. I haven't had the opportunity to go out and visit those, but they do have them deployed in both kids camps and RV parks. So we do have that option as well.
I would feel better about just having a siren closer too. I mean, that would obviously be great, but I
Mhm.
live half a mile away from the park and we don't hear it.
Hear it?
I don't hear it inside my
Nope.
house.
We are on the river, quarter mile from the park, and you can't hear it.
I don't think a quarter mile to your house.
Oh no, maybe more like half.
Still. And they're further kind of down.
Mm-hmm.
Under.
They're closer to the
So
The water.
where would you like to see one?
somewhere in like on where the RV park is.
Yeah,
essentially,
That's what I thought. Yeah,
put it right there.
right. Yeah. Because that's the one I'm most concerned about.
Uh-huh. I mean, they're right there. They don't have. There's not going to be a whole lot of warning.
No, I agree.
Yes,
It may be worth just getting a current map of where all the sirens are.
I agree.
Because there may be opportunity to kind of restructure where the sirens are currently at.
Agreed.
Or request for expansion, not only at the RV park, but of course where you live, and then of course down this side of the river
For sure.
as well. So it's maybe not just one focal point, but there could be realm of possibility to expand.
I agree. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
that's-
definitely will reach out. I'll reach out to Mark Chadwick, ask him if he can give us exact locations of where we have sirens currently, which ones are in operation, which ones are not, and if there is an opportunity to move one or two, where would he think would be best options for that? Considering one, we would like to put in regional park somewhere.
And from my understanding, there was money from the state to
Mhm.
do this. I don't know if it has to come
I've-
from.
I want to say, I
Commissioners or
think I
from the
did.
county,
I
or-
did see that.
I feel like it was county maybe, but
I
I
think
don't know.
it's county.
I think
Right.
it is county.
The EOC.
I think it is county, and for some reason, I don't think Medina County was included with some, but I'll have to double check. I think there was one that we saw, and Medina County did not get funds, but I'll go back. Let me reach out to Mark Chadwick. I'll reach out to Commissioner Sitter,
Because of our lack of-
and then we'll get something going. And
I
then-
would recommend talking to Councilman Martinez and shit, because they're looking at
The EOC?
city
Mhm.
EOC.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'll definitely share that with them as well.
It helps to talk to the county level government sometimes because he knows a lot. All right, and we'll do 6D, discuss and take, was there anything else?
No.
For something else? So we're definitely wanting something more in the park, and I guess you'll get us an update.
Yeah, at the next meeting, I'll definitely have an update for you all. And I'll send a quick email between now and the end of the week to Mark Chadwick.
Let me know if I can help with something on that.
Sure.
Okay, so for 6D, discuss and take action on the community center policy. So Jonah has this.
Yes. So, let's see here. So I don't know if everybody had an opportunity to review the policy that was in the packet. This is mirroring what the city of Cibolo has. After I brought the policy handbook to city council, we had a lot of feedback. Council was looking more for a policy and not necessarily like a handbook that had all of this information in there. In addition to, they were really hesitant or wanted a little bit more clarification on the alcohol and what was going to be allowed, what was not allowed. So in speaking to the city attorney, and after he said we've done policies before for the community centers in other municipalities, this is what he sent over to me, and we've changed it obviously to match the city of Castroville. But basically, it's just a very simplified policy that city council can adopt and look at. It has the current fees that are in our fee schedule, and then it has at the very end just a quick, a quick deposit and fee. So it has their reservation and payment, their one pager, and then the following is a cleaning checklist for them. This would be in addition to that handbook that we already had looked at. That one we'll have to still refine and look at. There were a couple of discrepancies that council had noticed, so I'm still working through that. But this is just the policy to kind of get us started, and then we can always look at what do we need to change in the handbook for users. If we need to look at fees, we can always adjust fees based on what our fee schedule looks like. In addition, Sandy researched and I researched some of the different municipalities close by. So, City of Lytle, very similar policy. Theirs is a little bit lengthier. They have, let's see what theirs is. Theirs is 5 pages. Again, they're all very similar in the sense that it's just very, not broad, but very, detailed and oriented in terms of this is just the policy for this building and for this city asset. We did, what is this one? The City of Lytle, again, they also had a cleaning checklist at the end of their policy. City of Somerset, theirs was basically just an application form. They didn't really have a policy. And then we also did the City of Divine, same thing. Theirs was a front and back, basically like an application process and not a policy like this.
They don't have the community center like you do.
Yeah. But so my request here is just if the Parks Board, if you all are okay with this, recommending this back to council so council can review it, look at it, and then either adopt it or send it back to me for further revisions, recommendations. And then again, we can always look at that handbook as well. And based on, like I said, based on some of the comments that I have have already been going through that handbook, trying to change some of the things that council.
So this is just more of a
recommended.
legal document, but the handbook would be user-friendly.
Correct.
I think that's good. I mean, it covers everything that we need to cover.
Mhm. Any other questions?
Did council give much feedback on the fee schedule that's here?
So, Councilwoman Solis has given me some feedback, and I know there is I believe there's an agenda item on Tuesday.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that, and Councilwoman Solis can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the things that we were trying to look at is trying to keep everything the same. So we've got Parks and Recreation fees, we've got resident, non-resident fees. The community center, resident, non-resident fees. RV park is straight across the board. The pool is straight across the board. So trying to match or mimic one over the other, what do we want to keep? What do we want to do? So that way there's no question about, well, what is it for this one? What is it for that one? It's all the same. I know the mayor had some comments about the hours. He recommended Sunday through Thursdays being till 9, Friday and Saturdays being till 10. Makes sense.
I'm sorry, back up. Are you saying you would like to see just all one fee, not residents?
A mirrored structure.
So either
All
way.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So it's for discussion, there's no action
Yeah.
on it yet, because there needs to be some analysis
Mhm.
behind it.
Uh-huh.
Because some assets in Parks and Recs, obviously, revenue generated versus those
Right.
are just for the community
Use.
itself.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
we're just trying to balance that out.
Mhm.
It may be a zero-sum game and it may just remain the same, but I think it's worth looking into
Mhm.
as far as analysis is
Yeah.
concerned.
So this one is based on a resident, non-resident rate. And this is the only reason that I kept it this way. not to push back on Councilwoman Solis or anything, but that's what's already in our fee schedule. So we adopted this last year with the anticipation that the community center was already going to be open. Again, this policy can obviously be changed. We can add in there. I can talk to the attorney about the fee schedule needs to match whatever the comprehensive fee is, or we can look at that and revisit that.
That's interesting to think about it all the way around, because for this, I'm like, obviously that makes sense. But then but then should the pool be that? You know,
Correct. Absolutely.
It should be cheaper for our residents, right?
Right, to include
So-
membership fees,
Mhm.
things of that nature. So we're doing the legwork, and I'm beating up Jonah since I came on, so now we're finally presented it to council, so we got some analysis to do behind it, but that's what we're looking into.
Yeah, and I think, and like Councilwoman Solis, she's beating me up on it, but it's with good intent, because it's one of those things where we've kind of I've been doing this, for 3 years now, 2 years, and I just kept it the same just because that's what it was before. But now, different aspects, different point of views, we're able to look at it and say, oh yeah, no, that does make sense. We should look at that and keep that same structure across the board. So I think the consensus at the council meeting was really the alcohol. There was some concern. All of the other municipalities that we looked at that have community centers, they do allow alcohol. They obviously allow a separate security deposit for alcohol, and they require either off-duty police, security, or something like that. So it's all outlined in this policy. They would have to reach out to the police department and try to get a list of off-duty officers that could possibly want to do it, that are city and or certified. I think they're TCOL or something like that.
Yeah.
That it's all outlined in that
Was
policy.
there a section that council didn't like about it specifically with the alcohol?
I think the concern was more they just didn't know if what was the red tape behind having a community building allowing alcohol in it, and then also the vicinity to the pool. So just making sure that in that handbook it states, and even maybe in this policy, that the alcohol is specific to this building only, and that if you take it outside, either in the parking lot or into the pool area, I mean, you're forfeiting your funds. But I think that was, like Councilwoman Solis said, she gave me a good list. I think hers and Mayor's had the most
That's
comments.
fair. I think the community policy, the community handbook was great. It's for, it's user friendly. We were just concerned from a governance standpoint as far as ensuring that we all internally to the city employees and externally to our citizens what the purpose of that building is. Right? And then that would govern the actual handbook. Because when we looked at the handbook, it was detailed of a lease agreement or a rental agreement, right? But it didn't really kind of state what the purpose of that building is, especially for the city council. Is it meant to generate revenue?
Yeah.
Right? Things of that nature. And so it's not outlined in there, so we were just kind of going back and forth.
And I think, and I think the biggest thing too, that again, when it comes down to communication, the agenda item stated policy, community center policy, but this is more of like a handbook. This is the policy.
Right.
So there was also that confusion of, well, what is this? Is it a handbook or is it a policy? So now we have a policy. We can add the handbook to this policy as a reference point, and go from there.
I think we also had a question about the conference room, right? It's like, would that too be rented out or not rented out?
Correct. Yes. The kitchen and the conference room were two
That is a
different
good question,
options.
because I guess I viewed the conference room as something like being able to rent out, like the airport, maybe not rent, but use.
That was my mindset. Like you said, the airport, I don't think you have to rent out. You can use it as long as you schedule it. However, in our leadership training today, I was talking to the library director, and she has a wait list for her. I think it's a 10-person room where people are looking to rent it for days on end, because she used an example. You've got
Like an office?
organizations that are looking to hold like a conference or something. She said she has lawyers looking to do depositions in there. So there is, it seems to be, I didn't think anything of it, but
the main room is going to be rented out, and I think other aspects of the community center can also be rented out as well. And maybe that drops a little bit of the $600 resident rate to rent that bit. you.
Mhm.
I don't know how the cost came up, but it's just discussion only, so that's what we discussed,
Mhm.
maybe the conference room gets rented out.
Correct.
Well, or is it for like official city use, or if we're using for city planning of something, like
Mhm.
then that would fall under just a reservation fee.
Correct.
And
Correct.
then other people would pay, but yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So in talking to Beth today and then previously, we're obviously going to look at ways to fill the space. We don't want the building to be empty. You're always going to have admin on one side, pool users on the other side, but the middle space is kind of what we're looking to do. So we're going to program as much as we can. We're going to rent out as much as we can. But like Councilwoman Sully said, if somebody just wants to use the kitchen, is there a fee to use the kitchen? They're not going to rent the whole space. They just want maybe a place to warm up some food. Same thing with the meeting space. If you have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts who want to meet there, and they're not going to just have a quick 1 hour meeting, it's going to be 2, 3, 4 hours, then maybe look at what is that rental rate going to be.
See, that's the hard thing, and I looked at from the nonprofit perspective. Like, obviously, we want to make use of the space. It would be nice to rent it out, but when you're talking about Boy Scouts or Kinetic Kids, we can't afford to pay.
Well, and that's going to be something that council will have to decide on, because you obviously have for-profit, you have nonprofit, and you have just organizations looking for a place to have a meeting.
Business is looking for meeting space.
Correct.
Right.
That would be the target.
Correct.
right?
Okay.
Correct. So nonprofits would, again, I don't want to speak for council, but again, for my mind, nonprofits would have a certain fee or no fee, and then for-profit or businesses, stuff like that, would have a different. But again, we don't have that in our fee schedule, and I hope that maybe at Tuesday's meeting that'll get brought up to where we can amend the fee schedule, and we can always amend this policy to reflect whatever those amendments are.
Okay.
So do you want us to come up with a fee schedule like for the different rooms or something?
Well, what I would recommend, so just for this, if the Parks Board is okay with this, recommend this for me to take back to council. I'll present it to council and see what council has. But I would say let's wait till Tuesday's meeting to see how that discussion goes on the comprehensive fee schedule, specifically for Parks and Recreation, and then we can go based off of that, because council might direct Leroy to do a analysis or do X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, I'll come back and say, hey, this is what council would like to see. They want us to revisit this. They want everything to kind of match, or it might be something else.
Okay.
But I think at that point in time, we can look at what would be a conference room fee versus a catering room kitchen fee only.
So we can
Strange.
make a motion that if we want to, for the policy in particular. Would y'all like to make a motion for this policy to be taken back to,
Yes.
unless that's gonna be like, I guess we'll be back and forth a few more times.
It
Do you-
might.
Is this gonna delay anything? So I know maybe the community center's mid-August,
Mhm.
is that right, for it to be done? Are we okay is the policy gonna
This-
delay anything?
Well, I don't think. It could.
I know
It's
you're
gonna.
not gonna
It's gonna
be
go
like-
based. It's gonna go based on what council. Whenever they look at it and they see if they have any questions. Being that this is the policy, the city attorney already gave it to me. He's already reviewed it. I don't think we'll have very much. In terms of, and again,
It'll take you a couple of weeks to
It
get
could.
going.
It could be. Yeah. It could be that council says, we're going to go ahead and adopt this policy with these changes and then go from there. But I honestly, based on the completion or the projected completion of mid-August for the community center and the time that it's going to take to get furnishings in there,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be okay.
So you want a motion to approve policy that's been presented tonight with the stipulation that fees might be adjusted.
Yeah, we don't have to. We don't have to do a stipulation because if the fees are changed, it's going to come back.
Okay, so you just basically want a motion saying that we approve of
Mhm.
the policy as is. Okay. Somebody seconding.
What, is
I'll
there a
second it.
Okay.
I got
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then opposed. For 6E, we came through, what is it called? Membership renewal process for different boards. So I thought we'd just revisit this, especially because we do not have like a vice president role right now since Nicole left. I'm fine. I'd entertain a motion to keep everything as is and just have someone want to be, unless you would like a change. If someone would wanna be
I'm
the vice
fine
chair.
staying as secretary, and I'm sure everyone would appreciate that.
She does such a good job. She just gets it all right there. And gets it out to us.
She's just saying that. No one else wants to do it. It's fine.
No, it really is. You do a great job. You really do. It's appreciated.
Would you like to be vice chair just in case? I
Have Steve.
I said no.
If you're in a bind, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Since we do need another person though.
Well, so that's the other thing for anyone listening out there on the internet. If you'd like to volunteer for this board, we have 3 positions open. So.
Yeah.
All right. Is there?
So you're making a motion.
Yeah, I would make a motion that Kyle become our vice chair.
I thought we were gonna make the motion just saying we're keeping it as it is.
But we have to have a vice chair, though, don't we?
I would assume so. I don't know if anyone. I'd have
She,
to ask Deborah.
Adriana's not going to be gone. It's fine.
That's fine.
I'll just cancel the meeting. All right. I think I've only had maybe 1 absence.
Good, you do a great job.
Is there a second for this motion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Find someone to find some more people for the board.
I know.
Okay, so for let's see, 7A, there's update from the Friends group. I can give a couple of updates. I've been working for a few months to help them get online, the group. So there's new social media pages on Instagram and Twitter, and there's a new newsletter that's going to be introduced. So, and they have a website now. So if you see that come up on social media or something, maybe you can help promote it. And I really appreciate all the volunteers who come to help maintain the different gardens. I was helping on the riparian garden. They had gotten flooded, and so in July they had a work session to clean that up. And they're just people from all over, even high school students.
It was a really good turnout that day.
Yeah, and I made it so quick.
I know. We ran out of stuff to do, actually.
And I think Boo Bash is getting planned for October. And Jonah, if you want to do your update,
My update,
I'm
yes.
sure you have some good news.
I hope. Very good news. Okay, here's my monthly report for July. Community center construction, we're looking at 98% complete. We do see the light at the end of the tunnel, which is good. We're looking at substantial completion at this Friday, with owner move-in projected to be next week. As well as next week, we're probably going to do some pre-final and final punch lists. So we'll go through. I'll invite Leroy. I'll see if Mayor is available, or maybe another council person, just to get another set of eyes on there, just because I've seen it so many times. Another set of eyes will kind of maybe look at things or see things that I'm not seeing. So we're looking at to do a punch list probably next week.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
There was grass laid in the front. I know we don't have irrigation there. Or
Yes.
I think we did. Is that staying, or is
Yes. So the grass is staying. So I talked to Mary Michael with Texas, I forget what her acronym is, and Jeremy Thomasak. They both are really good volunteers and have helped out a lot with the riparian. We wanted something green in the front. We didn't want St. Augustine, obviously, or Bermuda or something like that needs a lot of water. So we're going to try buffalo grass. That's buffalo grass. Once that buffalo grass is established,
right?
it gets tall, it gets green, and it only needs to get watered about once or twice a month, more or less, once it's established. So it did look a little tan, it looked a little dark, but it's starting to come back now that it's in its position and it's starting to get that ecosystem going. But yes, that right now is the only spot that we're going to have buffalo grass. So the 2 flower beds right in front, and then right in front of the admin wing. The rest of the front area is going to be some rock. Same thing on the back. We're going to do larger Texas River rock on the backside, probably with again some more drought resistant plants.
Gotcha.
Upcoming tasks: final site grading, sidewalk pouring, installation of handrails, turning on power, final plumbing and fixture install, etc. So the steel was placed today for the sidewalks. Hopefully we have sidewalks in tomorrow. That's what we're projecting. And then the stained concrete in the front of the building and in some of that, a little bit of the walking area, hopefully will be either Friday or Monday. Thursday, whenever they pour, if they pour tomorrow, they're going to do the rest of the gray, which is kind of be like the parking lot area down. But they're also going to bring in the samples of the 2 different colors that the architect was looking at. Pool, shower, restroom building, groundbreaking began last week. Yeah, seems like a long time, but yeah, July 28th. Site excavation is underway. Per the updated schedule, this building is planned to be completed November 24th of 2026. At the last council meeting, BMA agreement was approved. So I've already sent that agreement over to BMA. Once I get some updated quotes on gates, we will coordinate with the BMA manager and get those gates installed. Splash pad, good news on that one. All plumbing, bedding, and cement repairs have been complete. Staff is doing some site preparations, pressure washing, running through the schedule, etc. this week, and plan to open the splash pad on Friday, August 7th. So we were out there, staff was out there last week. They were trying to put in that main manifold on the inside. They were running into a couple of issues. So Monday we went back out there. We replumbed a couple of the fixtures, got that manifold back in there where it needs to go, connected all the wires. Tomorrow we're going to run it, see how it does. We'll leave it on auto. So then that way, if one of the staff members just goes by there, taps it, make sure that it's running on the schedule that it's supposed to be. And then that way Friday we can advertise that, hey, the splash pad is back up and running.
Can we advertise that, or is that like supposed to happen?
Yeah, we'll wait till Friday just to make sure. I mean, everything seems to be working right. I just don't want anything else to happen.
I know.
Right. Splash pad shade. Now that those repairs are complete, I will start working on the purchasing process for the cantilever shade that the board approved back in June 3rd. So I'll get those updated quotes, and then we'll get that ordered and installed in some downtime or the winter time. Regional Park irrigation, no updates. September Square update. I do have an update, which was just given to me earlier today. They are planning to begin demo tomorrow for the curbs at September Square. And they are looking to have all of this completed and have a ribbon cutting ceremony August 10th at 6 p.m. So that's next week. Programs and events. We had July 4th celebration at Regional Park. We had Kinetic Kids as well. Upcoming, we have August Fiora Friday. And then we've got the back to school swim bash as well next week at the pool.
Can I say something about the Kinetic Kids event?
Yes, ma'am.
Quick. I had some people, from outside of Castroville that just were bragging on our park, and we're so lucky to have a park the way that we do, the size that it is, and that it's a circle and we can mark it off, and this is just such a safe race for the kids, and they other places don't have something like that, so they were just really impressed with our park.
We were really grateful that you all obviously used us again, and for the cookies that Kinetic Kids sent last week. Thank you very much.
Okay.
But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm glad that the weather held out and the park was looking extra green for you all, because I think that
oh my gosh, the soccer
field
fields look so good.
that helps out a lot.
It's ridiculous how green it is in the regional park.
Still on here, future priorities and projects. We've got tree replacements, Garden of Roots, Lions Park, some along the Bear Branches Alliance Trail that we had there. We're looking at fall 2026 for those plantings. Reservation report is there as well for this last month. Same thing for our work orders. And then we've got pictures.
Real quick, the pool entrance by the community center there's a tiny cover for some shade.
Yes.
But maybe we could work with Jeremy to get some sort of tree planting off of that. I don't know if there was plans for that already.
I don't think so. I'll have to look back at the landscape plans and see what they had.
If
Yeah.
there's nothing, it's gonna need some shade.
Sure. We can look
I
at that.
can email him or both of you. I'm sure I'll have a plant list.
So we've got here the pool, shower, restroom building. That's excavated down. It's already been backfilled, and they're going to start with rough-in plumbing. So right here we have the splash pad. I tried to get the best pictures I could. So here is the break, and here's the repair. You see, there's at least 2 inches worth of ground shifting, whether it was inadequate bedding underneath the pipe originally, and then that pipe just sank, or
So there was just a gap, you think, maybe, and it just shifted the whole thing.
what I'm thinking, and I'm not an engineer, I'm not a splash pad installer, based on how all of these pipes broke, I'm thinking they came in, plumbed everything, started to backfill, did not put anything underneath the pipe, and then just leveled it off. So then whenever all the pressure, everything just, and then it broke 2 inches.
But that's not going to happen again.
No. So here you see that one there. You see this one as well. You've got that again, and they're all 2 inches worth of break. So it tells me that whatever was done to one happened to all of them on that side.
Yikes.
Same thing here.
Has it been broken for 2 years?
Mhm.
Did you have to pay much to? Did you basically foot the bill to?
The only thing what we fit the bill for was for the cement. So here you can see you see where these voids are at. This is where they made their plumbing repairs, and then you see over here on the right where all that rock was pushed back. First, it was put underneath the pipe to bed it, make sure that it was supported, and then everything else was put back in.
Have y'all? Yeah, there you go. Can you?
It's solid in here.
Does it match at all?
Yeah, there's a picture here.
Okay.
But in addition to this, because there were voids under that were further down than what was just exposed, they used a vibrating tool, so that way they could get that cement further down and back into those voids. Obviously, this is wet cement, so it's a little bit lighter now. In addition to the cement, they also filled and epoxied all of those other cracks that were on the pad. So that was the finished product the day of. So, what a difference it has made. I mean, this is, it's one of those things where it's been a long time coming. Like I said, we'll run through the system tomorrow, make sure everything's operating properly, and then we'll get that splash pad open for everybody. Attached at the
because you could have it run longer than the pool, maybe.
Mhm. Absolutely. So attached at the end of my report is just the schedule, the most updated schedule. On here it shows substantial completion for the community center. August 7th. Project completion and owner move-in the 13th. And then at the very bottom you have right here it says change order, but that's where the new pool, shower, restroom building. You've got site work started, and at the very end you've got owner walkthrough November 24th, final completion November 24th.
Do we have a possible day for a opening, like a grand opening?
No, not yet. I
See what happens?
kind of one of the situations where obviously school's starting in August. We're probably going to look at something in September. I need to get with Leroy, see what type of event we want to do, so that way we can plan for that. Get some of the furnishings in there, so that way people can see.
Yeah.
what it could look like. I could get with the library, see if there's other programming material that we can put in there. Somebody donated a ping pong table already, so we'll set that up in there. Somebody wants to play ping pong. But again, it's just one of those things where I don't want to give a date and then I get in trouble for not getting that date right. But that's all I have.
Cool.
So all moves in the right direction. Again, one of those things where we wish it was sooner rather than later, but at least
Whatever, we're getting close.
Well, it
We're-
takes
we're
Marigold
getting
to
closer.
complete it like that.
Mhm.
That was. There were times this past year I was like, we should just give up on the fourth lane on the splash pad. Like, and everything looks so green and watered, obviously. It's just,
it's not in my report, but I do want to share the regional park parking lots. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I believe they were posted for bid. So if you know anybody or if anybody is interested in those plans or that project, I believe it is online and ready for or accepting bids. So if they want to look at those plans. And then I have the plans as well here in case anybody wants to see what the parking improvements look like.
Oh, I do want to see. I'm curious.
So
I guess you haven't gotten any information about the playground.
no, nothing yet. I haven't gotten anything yet. Now that we do have some project completions, I will probably reach out to TPWD just to kind of get an idea of what I can do in the meantime. There's probably some RFPs or RFQs that we need to go out and start developing and putting out there. So that way, whenever we get that grant agreement, we'll already have everything ready to go and can just start that ball rolling now.
Thank you, Jonah. Our next regular meeting will be September the 2nd, and that's the week before Labor Day. I have it kind of sketched out already for next month, and it's a lot of like discussion with our project list that we contain. So we can get feedback from Jonah on what's been funded for with the budget that council's going to approve. So if there's anything else, just let me know.
Covered it all. You did, but it was good.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's 9 after